Yeah.
Okay, we're good at 10.
All right, okay, are we good?
Yep.
Okay. I'm here with Diane Montgomery, and Diane is going to start our meeting by telling us a little bit about herself and her family. So you could start with your name and where you were born and
Sure.
like
Okay.
that.
All right. Well, as you've just heard, my name is Diane Montgomery, and I was born in Leeds, England. I came over in 1965, straight to Guelph with my parents. My current family, I have 4 children, and I have 7 grandchildren. 6 are boys, and then 1 was a girl, the 7th. How much more do you want me to say about
I
the family?
want you to tell me, and I know this, a little bit about your mom and the relationship with your mom and how you ended up with the theater.
Okay.
But I want you to tell a little bit about that.
Okay. So when I was 15, I guess I was a bit of a wild teenager, and I still don't know. My parents had joined the theater. My parents were very involved in Guelph Little Theater, and I think my mother wanted to first, and she persuaded my father to join the theater, and then of course he got very big in theater and it sort of took off for him. But I was 15 and there was a youth theater at the old Guelph Little Theater building, and I joined as well. Possibly because they wanted to keep an eye on me, and possibly because I wanted to. I can't remember, it's too far back. So I joined Guelph Little Theater in 1975, that would have been, in the youth theater. And we did a lot of backstage things. You know, we learned all about being an ASM, and we learned makeup and helping with costumes. I don't remember if we put on any youth performances, but I do remember for 4 years just dying to be on stage, not having a part for all that time because I was probably too young. And then when I was 19 years old, I was cast in my first play called There Goes the Bride. And it was the same year that I was getting married in real life. And so the paper did a big splash saying, first a bride on stage, then a real bride, or something like that. So it was a lot of fun. That was in the old building before the fire. And then after that, the 3 of us were in a play together, my father and my mother and I. And my mother played the wife of my father, and he played my boss, who was trying to have an affair with me. And so, nothing improper occurred during the play. I think at one point he had to ogle my leg. And the church people came to see us on stage and were quite shocked that the Slater family was putting on such a display. So that was kind of fun. That one was called What the Butler Saw.
Can you talk to me a little bit more about the youth theater?
I can try, but I really
Whatever you remember.
I don't remember a lot, and the things that I do remember are more like, in the cloakroom, kissing with a cute boy when we were caught, right, hiding in the cloakroom. I don't remember enough about the youth theater, unfortunately, because I'd love to have one here nowadays.
Yeah.
I remember Denise Gismonti was part of it. And we had a lot of fun, but I don't remember what we did. I can't really remember much about the youth theater.
If you were going to start a youth theater here,
Mm-hmm.
how would you do it?
I think I'm always one, I like to have a plan in place. I don't like to do things sort of pell-mell, I like to figure out how it should work, who's the right person to lead it. I used to be a teacher. I used to teach drama. I used to teach young offenders, actually, a drama class, and I used to teach them how to tell their life stories out in public. So I would take them to all the local schools.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I would lean on my teaching experience, and I would want to see, a proper plan drawn up as to, why we were doing this, what they were going to learn, have kind of lesson plans, and then perhaps production at the end. And I think it would be great because then these youth would learn some valuable tools about acting and about the theater that would then help them to get roles when they got older because they'd already have the experience, you know.
Mhm.
Plus, I think it's from my experience at Portage, this was the Rehabilitation Center for Young Offenders. I think it's really important for today's youth. I think they have a really tough time since COVID, and I think this would just give one more place for them to belong, you know, to have somewhere to go that's not home. Yeah, so for lots of reasons.
I'm fascinated with the work you did with young offenders. One of my jobs was with Manitoba Corrections
Okay.
and young offenders, so
Mhm.
I'm very interested to hear you talk a little bit more about how drama could work with these kids.
Okay. I loved that job. It's probably one of my favorite things that I've ever done. These kids were naturally dramatic. I mean, you know, they had skills that were not necessarily positive out in the world, and they had learned how to be little actors, right? But they also, you know, I also taught them about reaching into themselves, their inner selves, right, and kind of examining the roles that they had played in their lives before and how it affected other people, and we would play them out, you know, we would play those roles out. And so it was part theater, but it was also part real life. Also, many of these kids they had a really hard time getting their high school diploma, and so I would work with them to write their English and drama courses. And so they would say, I can't do this, this is too hard for me, right? And I would say, okay, what kind of an assignment would you like to see? Well, I could write you up my experience of blah, 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 whatever. And I would say, well, then you do that, and then I'm going to take that instead of this assignment. And so we would create this whole new kind of curriculum for them in order to get their English credit so they could work towards their high school diploma.
What do you think the value of that would be? I mean, so you worked with a very specific group.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the value of that would be if we were to take that to a broader education system?
You know, I don't know whether it would work in a broader education system. And the reason I say that is because I don't know if you've ever worked in a place where inside that circle, inside the Portage circle, all the staff, the kids, the teachers, you're living life at a different level,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody outside of it would ever be able to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And so these kids, you know, I taught a 12-year-old boy who had tried to hang himself because his mother was a heroin addict and she'd got him addicted and then said, get out there and support your habit. And then he tried to hang himself and he hadn't been successful, he was brain damaged. So these kids had experienced things that we never imagine in our own lives coming across. So to take it out into the real sort of school system, what you might find are kids that gravitate towards it that maybe have experienced some of the things that these kids experienced, and you know, that you might help that sort of part of the population, you know.
So what do you think? Obviously these questions are not on the list.
No.
But they are interesting because they talk about why we go to the theater. And I guess my question to you is, how do you think, or do you think, some of the lessons you learned when you were working with those kids apply to Joe Blow when he goes into the theater?
You know, I honestly, I would need to take a lot more time to think about that question.
It's a hard
Yeah.
question, isn't it?
It's a tough one, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I guess the reason I'm asking it is because I'm trying to understand, let me put it this way, I'm trying to understand from the perspective of people who are involved in the Guelph Little Theater,
Mhm.
what they think they're doing here, what they think the value, the intrinsic value
Mhm.
of the theater is for Mary, who buys her ticket for $10 or $20,
Yeah.
says, entertain me. What do
Hmm.
you think? Like, why are we doing this? That's a hard question.
It is a really hard question. And I mean, for me, when I took on the role of president, I did not choose it.
Mhm.
It was not something I would have wanted to do. But at the time, this was last year, it looked like the theater was not drying up, but had sort of, I think they'd come through COVID very successfully, and I wasn't part of it at that time. I joined right in COVID, in the middle of it.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people were really burnt out. It didn't look like there was going to be anybody who was going to step into a lot of the board roles. And I was on the board at the time. I was the director of rentals. And I remember thinking, like, no way do I want to be president. And then I brought up at that particular meeting, you know, we've had a lot of really great renters come into this building. I've met a lot of really talented people, excellent people with lots of positive energy. Why don't I reach out to a few of them and see what happens? And so I did, okay? And I happened to have a coffee meeting. Karen Allen responded back to me and she said, sure, I'll meet you in Williams Coffee Pub for a coffee. And I thought, oh, great, okay, let's go and find out what this is about. And so we sat and we chatted for about an hour and hit it right off, and it was so fun. We had these great talks about theater, and I sort of felt like rejuvenated. And I thought, this is a person who's excited about theater and about new things. And she looked at me and she said, Diane, if you will be president, I will be your vice president, and I come with a treasurer and a secretary. And I thought, crap. What do I do? And then I thought, well, I can't turn it down. I mean, I felt like, okay, this opportunity has been put to me. I felt like a responsibility that if we, you know, step into the role just this past year that's gone by, and bring a new board, that maybe bringing in this new energy would help all the old people to find their positivity again. And so that's why I became president. But as for your question, why do people get involved in theater? I think there's lots of different reasons. You know, I think there's people that come here because they maybe don't have a social life, some of them, and so they come here to get involved in theater, to meet people, you know, in all different aspects, whether they want to be on stage or in lighting, sound, technical, whatever. I think there's some retired people who the theater really has become a really big part of their life, you know, and we have all kinds, like all ages, all the way up. I think we even have somebody in their 90s. I'm sure you've interviewed Alex, right? Yeah. So that might be another reason. Another reason, I mean, you get people in here, you get the prima donnas that want to shine and want to put their own selves forward, and they want to get on the stage. And, you know, there's that sort of type. It's a very big sort of pot mixed up of all the different reasons why people come to theater.
Mm-hmm. And the person who comes in the door to see a thing.
Yeah.
Why do you think they come?
Well, I think that, you know, there's only a certain amount of things you can sort of do in your pastime, right? Mm-hmm. There's probably, you know, like there's the river run, there's sports, there's the hockey team, there's bars, there's that kind of thing that is going on all about town. And sometimes you're looking for what is happening that week, and that might be a reason you think, okay, well, there's a play at Guelph Little Theater, the price is very reasonable, you know. So you might get some of those people. You might get people who they were part of a rental, they came in to see the rental, and they thought, well, I didn't even know this was here. We hear this all the time, right? And then they come back to see our shows. You just get people who really love the theater, and also the long-standing tradition of storytelling. You know, I mean, this has come up through history. The telling of stories, and theater is a big part of that. I just think that we provide a really great evening of entertainment for them.
And there's a range.
And there's a range.
People come for different reasons.
That's right. That's right.
That's
exactly. Yeah.
So, What is it that attracts you? I know you felt an obligation. I know you kind of grew up in the theater,
Mhm.
but you don't have to be here.
I don't have to be here, but I'm the type of person that once I make a commitment, I can't break it. Okay, so if I've committed to something, I'm going to see it through. So there's that. Okay, I love the camaraderie of, especially the rentals. I think because being president, I'm really sort of far removed from the production side of it. I really don't get to be involved because it's a lot of work, right? And so when a rental company comes in and I get to be involved in that as the venue rep, I'm sort of here on site. I love that. I love seeing what other companies do. I love learning from them. I love thinking, oh, that looks really cool. Can we utilize that somewhere here? You know. So I really like that part. I love being director of rentals. It's really that's my favorite part of being here right now. As to whether I would ever act again, I have acted a number of times. I've acted in this theater, Galt Little Theater, Harriston Theater. Maybe someday I might be interested in that again. But I find myself when I go to Stratford, like the Avon Theater especially, I've been there the last 2 times, I found myself looking around, looking at the lights and thinking, oh wow, look at what they've got, a bank of lights there, they're all over here, how have they done this, can we do this, you know. The sound systems, I look at their speakers, I look at their curtains and I think, I want red velvet at the front of our stage, okay? But it wouldn't match what we've already got. So the last time I was at the Avon, which was maybe a week or 2 ago, I sat there and I was coveting their flies up above the stage, right? And I thought, is there any way we can lift the roof of Guelphville Theater so we've got more room up there and we can have all this space like they do, you know, and drop all the scenery down. So I think I'm also, in the future, potentially going to gravitate towards the set design, the whole technical sort of aspect. That's kind of my interest, I think, if I ever get off the board, you know.
Talk to me about lifting the roof.
Oh, okay, I will. I don't think it's possible. It's probably ridiculously expensive. But I thought, well, we've got this flat roof on the building, you know, can we not go up? Can we? And really, would the cost justify what that can actually do for us? Is this just like a Diane want, right? That's not really that important because we do have a great stage. But if we did that, have you been to the Avon Theater?
Oh, yeah.
And you've seen the theater, you've seen all that space they have up there, you know? The catwalks and the lights are hidden. Instead of having these box sort of stages, sets, right, with the flats, we can drop scenery, you know, we can use a lot more creative technical things that rely on imagination rather than real solid objects. And I like the idea of theater being partly magical, right? So you see these things and you think, wow, how did they do that? Because they did it with lighting, or they did it with a scrim, or they did it by dropping something, or just something different that nobody's done before.
So if you know, could snap your fingers, how would you change this building?
Oh my word. More space, more space, more space, more space, more. How would I change the building? You know, I like this building, but I started with the first building.
Yeah. And
the first building was quirky and crooked and mismatched, and it had so much character, and I loved that about it, you know. So sometimes I'm torn between really wanting to make this like a community space that brings in a lot more people, a lot more groups for a lot more reasons, in which case it sort of has to be a bit more polished than what we had at the old Guelph Little Theater, you know, which had all this mismatched furniture all around the sides of the green room, all these old couches and chairs, and it was very homey. So if I could have my druthers, is not the word in the question,
that's the word.
Okay, I think I would like to have a larger green room, better bathrooms. I've raised the roof above the stage and have my flies and things. We would have a legal kitchen that was able to legally do dinner theater, cook food, whatever. this space, well, no, I put in these two things. These would be gone so that we can have a support thing across there. So this is a fully open space. Let's see what else. I don't know. Bigger costume room, bigger props, better props area than just up the steps. But really and truly, it's not going to happen. And this building is pretty perfect, right? We're very lucky to have it. A lot of theater companies don't have a theater home, right? And so they're constantly trying to beg, borrow, and not steal, but space, right? Yeah.
But if somebody came along and said, Diane, here's $15 million, would you tear it down and start over?
No, I would sell it and I'd move to a different space and I would find a building like the Armory. Okay.
Talk to me about the Armory.
So I haven't really been inside it that much, but from the outside, you know, for me it would be a big old theater, a big old building that we could completely redesign. I don't know if $15 million would do it.
Well, it's just a number.
Totally designed from scratch inside and make it grand, you know. I think that's probably, yeah.
Well, I mean, you get something for this building and this space, so it's 15 plus whatever you get.
I suppose so, yeah.
I mean, I'm asking you to daydream because you're in a position to do it.
Sure.
You know.
But then also, it would still have to have a major infrastructure of rooms downstairs so that we can do our theater schools and our children's theater and our yoga classes and, you know, all the things that we do here as Tai Chi, actually, not yoga that comes in. We'll get yoga one day.
What about room for an orchestra?
You know what? Yes, because
we're daydreaming.
Yeah, for sure. That never really sort of hits on my radar, but some of our renters do. Penny and Pound comes and they do bring an orchestra that fits in that little space where we take out the front piece of the stage. So, yeah.
And what about room for maybe people to live? I mean, we're daydreaming.
Living in the theater?
Well, not in the theater, but above the theater, and you've got the whole sky, right?
I'm not sure if that would be something I would care about. I don't know. I get in the big building, but no, I mean, I want the, you know, the turrets and the.
Okay. You want to use those turrets?
It's my dream. I want turrets.
Do you want to use those turrets as a stage?
No.
A stage. Oh, come on. You know you want up in those.
I'm
turrets.
just trying to think. Maybe we could do outdoor theater, and somebody could be up in one of the turrets, and there would be a way to come down or whatever.
Like
right?
Rapunzel.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Maybe.
We're just daydreaming.
Okay.
We're just. I mean, are we? You know, I don't know. I mean, out of the mouths babe. Let me see what other questions I should be asking you. Okay. Well, we've asked the question about what you. Well, we haven't really asked the question about what you wish GLT did differently. If you could just. Yeah,
sure. What I wish we did differently. I'd really love to see us be able to maintain a constant team, because what happens through the years, and actually, I mean, we've made it to 90 years, so I mean, it's worked, whatever has happened, right? But I think what's happened is different groups at different times have come in and they've created some of the rules and the documents, right? And then it changes the next time, and so there, you know, it just sort of changes through time. And I think it would be really nice if we could find a way to streamline all of our processes, okay, not the theatrical ones, but just to be able to offer a better experience for audiences, having the same people that grow through, you know, maybe instead of a 2-year term as president, it would be 5, I don't know. And then also more volunteers, more people, because as usually happens, I think, with any sort of an organization, is it's the few that are doing the most of the work. And I think I think communication is really a tough, when you have a large workforce or volunteer organization, to actually be able to communicate and train so that everybody is on board with that,
Mhm.
with all the different personalities and all the different ways that people are. It's a really tough job. That's probably one of the hardest things that I've found as president is managing all the human relationships,
Mhm.
right? So I would say get a really great leadership program in place, and then start filling in. So we have our committees, we have our groups, we have the managers, right? And so the work is spread out. There's a lot more people, which takes a lot of the stress
Yeah.
off the people that are doing most of the work,
Mhm.
because you get burned out, right?
Yeah.
And then to have more fun, more socials, more time to sort of celebrate what we do together. I think, did that answer the question?
Well,
I lost track of
Don't worry,
what it was halfway
we're getting
through.
there, we're getting there.
Okay.
How would you feel, I mean, we're not, money's never an issue when we're having these conversations.
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
money.
Right.
What about a person whose full-time job,
Mhm.
because, the board are all volunteers, and
Mhm.
you've all got other lives, you've got how many kids and how many grandchildren, I mean, they gotta keep you busy,
Mhm.
What about a full-time, the word I have is administrator, that's not the right word.
Yeah,
Operations manager.
We have talked about those ideas at
Yeah.
board level. We've talked about potentially having a building manager and what duties would slot under that title.
Mhm.
But once again, it's a money thing as well, right?
Mhm.
I mean, to be able to consistently afford that position, other things have to be put in place, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So fundraising becomes important.
It does, and actually that probably should be the role of the board. Like, a board should be kind of up here managing, the organization,
Yeah.
managing, bringing in the fundraising, bringing in, a board should probably be made up of people that have more expertise, say a lawyer and an accountant and a banker, or, people that want to come on and they know how to fundraise and they have contacts in this sort of area. But I think through the years, I don't know if it's always been this way, but what ends up happening is that the board ends up being a working board,
Yeah.
right? And so we get sort of bogged down with, dealing with all the details of production,
Yeah.
because this past year we were missing a production manager off the board, and that would have been their role. And so as board members, we all stepped in and did the posters and the programs, and found the staff, found the producers, found the stage managers for that, which is great, but it's not really what the board should be doing, right?
It's
And
a lot
then,
of work.
and because of the building, we end up talking about, oh, this needs to be fixed, and what are we gonna do about this, and that's not a board
Mhm.
area, really.
Mhm.
Now Tyler, our treasurer, who's terrific, has this year he's just started a strategic planning committee. We've had our
Mhm.
first meeting, and I have some high hopes for that, to sort of get a plan in place, right? So that we can prioritize what needs to be done on the building, what's our budget for it, how are we gonna get it?
Mhm.
And then once we get to that sort of point, then we go to the board and we say, this is what we're gonna need, this is our budget, how can we go about getting this financial help from
Mhm.
wherever?
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's kind of a vicious circle,
Yeah. So you don't have anybody who, right now, who has sort of the overall vision that says, we want to be this kind of board, we want to do this kind of theater,
Mhm.
we need this amount of revenue from X.
I think there are people on the board who do sort of have this vision. I mean, I kind of have this vision, and I think Karen and Tyler kind of have this vision, and Marion probably does too, right? But when the day-to-day comes in, you're putting out fires
Yeah.
all the time, right? Or
Yeah.
you're right, and so you're not able to sort of focus on that big picture. But I think we just had our first year. It was a brand new board. I'd been on it for 1 year as director of rentals, as I said before, and everybody else except for Robin was brand new. you know? And so we really were having a big catch-up kind of a year, trying to learn, trying to figure out what was going on. You know, we were always behind, right? Oh gosh, we should have had the next year's plays chosen by now. Oh boy, we should have. And stuff was happening, you know, that we had to deal with. And so now I feel like we've got our first year under our belt, and next year, hopefully, we can work a little bit of the way towards getting the board functioning on things that are going to help the future, help the bigger picture. This is my hope.
Are there people? I know there's a lot of different groups that come through here.
They're amazing.
It's great.
Yeah, it's really great. Yeah.
I've actually I didn't come, but I wasn't able to. But my granddaughter was at your Christmas production. She couldn't stop talking about it.
Okay.
You know, she couldn't stop.
And that was our own.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, she couldn't stop. She's
Good.
like, yeah.
Nice.
She's 6 now.
Okay.
So she's, you know.
Bring her out to read for Alice in Wonderland in
Oh,
August.
well, I don't know if she's ready to read, but
No.
she's certainly going to come see it.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I guess that it leads the question that leads me. We've been talking about other theater groups, and my question is, how do we work with them to create the vision of the building?
So we have plans along those lines. I'm not going to actually name them
No.
because that we might run up against some opposition over it. But we have thought about,
Yeah.
you know, who can we bring in? Who else might want to appreciate the building, right? So there's definitely ideas. There's definitely things that are being talked about. Whenever change occurs and a new idea is brought forward, this always tends to happen, right? And so first you have to get through all this stuff, and then, just keep working at it.
So it's now 10 years from now. We're at our 100th anniversary.
Am I still alive?
Oh yeah. You're still alive. Yeah.
Right.
Am I still alive?
Of course.
Whatever. We're on the camera.
Yeah.
We're still alive. What do you think the theater is going to be in 10 years? In a perfect world,
Okay.
what would you like?
I hope that we have been successful in realizing the vision and the plans that are just starting now, and that it's that we've gotten to sort of that point, right, where we do have a board that's working as a board that's supporting the theater, that we do have more management positions, not necessarily paid. I think likely there might be 1 or 2 paid in that at that point. You know, that we've put a corporate sponsorship program in place, that where our seats are filled always for productions, right? That we've got a lot more renters in here. That the building is being utilized to its full potential. You know, I mean, we'd like to see the building not really ever sitting empty. I mean, you know, there's a great building here, and there's lots of great spaces that can be juggled, right? That's another thing I forgot. We're gonna need soundproofing through, you know, surrounding all the spaces, so that we can have more groups in here that are able to work without hearing the other ones going on. Simultaneously, yeah. And we do it now. With being director of rentals, I took over the calendar, and so I can see exactly who is using what spot and where. And when people email me and they say, can I do, like for instance, Dennis might say, can I do a sound training session here and here? It doesn't look like there's anything on the calendar, and I'll say, yes, I'll put it in. And on my cell phone, I can immediately plug things right into the calendar, and it's in there, okay? Yeah. The same with renters, you know, I can see what's where. And we're trying to do, next year I'm trying to do an experiment with the rehearsals for our productions, so that each production gets an extra month of time in the rehearsal hall. So usually what happens is the first production goes into the rehearsal hall. When they move on to the stage, the second production moves in, and so on through the year, right?
Mhm.
So now I'm trying to get it so that the rehearsals are staggered. So if the first play chooses Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, the second play gets Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, and so they'll get that extra month, right? And so this is just in the first sort of experimental stage, but things like that I think will help us, number one, to get more rehearsal time if the groups need it,
Yeah.
and number two, to be able to, use the buildings more fully, right? Like we just added a Tai Chi class on Tuesday mornings there.
Yeah.
I think they're in the rehearsal hall. We added the Guelph Hiking Club does Trek and Tells here one Tuesday a month in the lobby.
Uh-huh.
Things like this, getting these different groups in that our members maybe even want to come to. Those Trek and Tells are fascinating. Right? Were you at one?
Probably at the last one.
They're so
Great.
interesting. I love them.
Yeah.
So yeah, things like this. There's a lot of stuff going on in
Yeah.
Guelph, and there's a great building here, and I bet you there's a lot of things that don't have a space that can come here. Right?
Have you thought about, there's a huge park.
Mhm.
Have you thought about outside space at all?
So we have had, I don't remember what it's called. It's not Praise the Ward, but it's a night market.
Mhm.
They have sometimes come and used our parking lot.
Mhm.
Yeah, as it stands right now, I'm so busy that I don't really have time to go out and seek renters. They come to me,
Mhm.
okay? So perhaps in the future, we might have an information session somewhere out there where we reach out to
Mhm.
potential renters. Yeah.
What do you think the overall relationship with the people in the city or around the city
Mhm.
who might be interested in using this space? Do you think I guess the question is, do you think the people who could use this place
Mhm.
know about it well enough?
Probably not. I mean, if it's anything to go by, the amount of people that come through here during performances and during rentals and say, I didn't even know you were here and I've lived in Guelph for 40 years, then they likely don't know about it. And so, that might be something that we can look to doing in the future, is raising public awareness.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe people just think like, oh, Guelph Little Theater, and it's just not on their radar, so they're not, they're not sort of tuned into what it is. They may have heard it, but not really realize what's here.
One of the things that I'm new to Guelph.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a little bit about the university, but not very much.
Mhm.
One of the things that I'm learning about, though, is that there's a drama department.
Yes, I took drama at University of Guelph.
There you go.
Mhm.
So you know about the department then?
I do.
Yes.
Mhm.
Is there a relationship?
There's not at this time. You have to remember that this past year, there's kind of a wall between what happened before. Like, we don't know.
I understand.
Right?
Yes.
So I have no idea if there had been one. I know that there's groups of volunteers. There's a program that comes from the University of Guelph, and they've been great. They come once a year, and they've done a lot of work around the property and inside. At some point in time, it would likely be a very good idea if I go back to my drama department and start talking about that kind of thing.
Mhm.
But as well as doing theater, I also run a couple of companies, right? So, I just, I mean, really to make time for the things that I added, I started getting up at 5:30 in the morning instead of 6,
Yeah.
or 6:30. I just stuck on an extra hour because there just was not enough time in the day.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so, probably would be good if we did have a relationship with the University of Guelph. But yeah, I don't know if any of the people are left there from when I was, actually Judith Thompson is still there, and I actually wrote a play under her tutelage, which was produced at the University of Guelph. So that was cool. So she's still there. I don't know about some of the others.
So that would be an area to.
Yeah, that's a possible future area to think about.
And what about the high schools? Is there I don't know.
Yeah, I think likely somebody goes around to the high schools when things are going on, but once again, it's a question of there's not enough people.
Yeah.
There's not enough, we're not organized enough yet. We're just, we're making it work, and we do make it work, and I think we produce some really cool theater. We do
Yeah.
some great jobs, you know, but there's definitely lots of room for improvement and lots of room for new people to come and join us who, if anybody hears anything in this interview that,
New people, David.
David?
I'm not an actor.
David, you don't need to be
You don't
an
have to be an actor, okay? I'm saying it to the camera now that if anybody seeing this video is interested in coming to help us or join us for any of the things that we've said we need, please reach out, right?
I think we found our clip.
Yeah.
And there isn't a community college in Guelph, is there?
Yeah, there's Conestoga College.
Conestoga is in
Yeah.
Guelph. Well, who
Yeah.
knew? Do they have a drama department?
I don't think so, or I don't know.
Yeah.
I took carpentry actually at Conestoga
Oh, yeah.
College. I've done everything.
That's well, why not? Yeah.
Yeah, I did carpentry there, so that was fun.
Yeah, we talked to somebody, I'm not good with names. We talked to somebody who talked about, the last interview we did.
Yeah.
We talked about the set design guy. We talked about carpentry. It was
Okay, yeah.
very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Conestoga didn't come up.
No,
as it, yeah.
no.
And actually, it one of the issues that was raised is the same issue that we're talking about, and is succession.
Exactly.
That's what we're talking about.
That's what we're talking
here.
about, is succession,
And
yeah.
how do we, because we've got a great institution here, how do we put that in place so that when you win $1 million and you get to go to Stratford and you get to go to all the other places that the great theater is, and you're not here, that we can plan for.
I don't know. I mean, I bring that up regularly. That's one of my favorite pushes is succession.
Yeah.
Right? But it's one thing to have the idea, and it's another thing to put it in place, you know? I mean, it's my idea that everybody who has a role should be bringing up somebody behind them to step into that role when they have to leave it, when they're leaving it, right? But it's, it doesn't happen.
This is a question I'm going to ask you, and I don't know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask anyway. Because why not? What about Guelph's relationship with the city? Is there, and I don't know, maybe it's already there, is there help from the city?
Well, we just sent an email to the River Run the other day. I think
Okay.
Mary might have sent it out, asking for an example of their training program because we really appreciated the way they do things, and they
Yeah.
sent it to us.
Okay.
Like somebody from the River Run Center sent us slides. They told us that they do a 2-tier training program. They use slides to train. What did they send us? I think it was the one on the cloakroom and the snack bar were what we were sent. And so they showed us all these slides that the people are trained through, and then they have a mentoring program where they work with somebody else to learn how to do it. And so this is a very simple first step to starting that, right?
Yeah.
And so we were grateful to receive that.
Yeah.
So I think the River Run, is River Run City? I'm not actually sure
I
it was
don't
a
know.
River Run.
Is it River Run City?
I think so.
And I think in the past, I don't know because it wasn't me, but we may have gotten grants from the city, especially during COVID, there were some grants
Yeah.
given, yeah.
Do in granting, or with granting organizations like the province or the
Trillium.
feds? Trillium.
Yeah. This is another area where we know a bit about, we need to know more about.
Yeah.
So this is another person of expertise that we need to bring into our board. We have one person on the board right now that is familiar with grant writing and corporate sponsorship.
Yeah.
And so, but she has been bogged down with all the things that she's had to do, and so it hasn't gotten off the ground yet.
Yeah.
So hopefully in this next year.
Yeah. We got a lot to do, huh?
Yeah, lots to do.
Okay, so now, in a perfect world, and you're speaking to whoever you'd like to speak to, because we've got you on camera, what do you need to say about the Guelph Little Theater to help us remember how fabulous it is?
Well, I would like to say that any establishment that has lasted for 90 years and is still running strongly and is as successful as it is, there's got to be something going for it. There's got to be great people. There's got to be fun things happening. There's got to be a lot of learning. So I would say for anybody who's even thinking about it, come on out and find out, what's involved. I think maybe some people are intimidated to walk through the door. Just come and talk to somebody and find out what's here, and you might find a little niche where you absolutely belong.
Have you thought about, you'd open the bar,
Mhm.
of course you'd open the bar. Have you thought about, and just inviting people?
Yep,
Come out.
Tyler wants to start. He's got these beer with the board nights that he wants to have, right?
Tell us about
So, it's just, as I say, once again, there's lots and lots of ideas flowing. It's just a question of implementing it.
Mhm.
I think we have just found a new social director. I won't name this person because we haven't had the AGM yet and voted this person in. But we have been lacking a social director before. So slowly we keep getting new people in that,
Mhm. Because it's a question of everybody, well, not everybody knows that this theater is here. There are lots of people
Oh,
as well who
absolutely.
don't know
No,
that
you're
this
right.
is here.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's a question of familiarizing people with it,
Mhm,
and then having them look at the accessibility,
Mhm.
and then saying, well, I could do this little piece,
Yes.
because that's what I think that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is people to do this little piece,
Mhm.
whatever that
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Except there's a million little pieces.
Well, yeah. Well, it needs someone like you to organize those little pieces.
Right.
So what else do you need to tell us?
I can't think of anything.
Okay.
Can you?
I think we're done.
Good.
Thank you
All right.
so
So you're
much.
very welcome.